Welcome, everybody. This is Jen Maleka with Functional Diagnostic Nutrition, and we have Reed Davis, our founder of FDN, on the line, and Dr. Alan Weinstein today to deliver this awesome webinar for you guys about HPA access and adrenal stress assessment for health coaches, because there's a lot more to adrenal function and assessment than you guys probably think, and Reed's going to give us some great insights on that. So just a quick few housekeeping things before we get started. Make sure that you guys jot down your questions as we go through the presentation. You can type them in at any point in time in the chat box on GoToWebinar here. We will address all of your questions at the end. And make sure to hang on, because we got some special stuff to share with you guys at the end of the presentation too. So without further ado, Reed, I'm going to hand it over you to do your magic for these guys.
Thanks so much, Jen. It's a beautiful afternoon here in California. Even though it's gray and cold, it's still beautiful, right? So enjoying ourselves. We're going to go over today the HPA axis and adrenal stress assessment for health coaches. Also want to welcome my buddy and partner in crime, Dr. Alan Weinstein, on board.
Hey guys, good to be here. I can't believe you said it's cold there. You don't know what cold is until you get here. I'm expecting you to warm me up, Reed, so get going here.
Hey man, it's like under 40.
Well, that's good here. It's under 10.
Freezing. So now, here's our promise to you today. And you know, I like teaching in front of a whiteboard or doing PowerPoints, or just as long as I'm teaching, I'm a pretty happy guy. And today I want to promise to give you some investigative skills and mindset that seeks to unravel metabolic chaos instead of treating the symptoms, or what a lot of people are doing now is they're just treating the test results. You're also going to learn which lab tests identify healing opportunities, what's really wrong, so you can fix it. How to apply wellness principles unique to you or your client so you actually get results. And how to walk your clients along the proven path towards health so they never leave you and they refer others to you. And what you need to do right now so you never have to worry that you don't have the skills or tools to help any client, no matter what their problem is. It's really about how to grow your business by getting real results in your client's health and well-being. Now, that's what I promised to cover. And if you pay close attention, I guarantee that when you leave this webinar, you'll learn everything you need to know to take your business to the next level, and not only how to fix people's adrenal problems, which is the main topic for today, but any other health problem they're challenged with. And this also applies to your own health challenges, of course, you know, because we're all trying to walk the talk, right? So I'm just going to tell you a little tiny bit about myself and my history of FDN. It's really short. You know, I coined the term metabolic chaos because that's what it is at the root of all health problems. And I was a health director and case manager at a wellness center in Southern California, a very busy place. I ran thousands of tests on thousands of people and ultimately learned that causal factors are usually very far removed from the complaints, their symptoms, and that the actual root cause may never be known. There is no one test, there's no 10 tests, and there certainly isn't that little weird thing they have on Star Trek that you wave over your body and makes a funny noise and tells bones and everything that's wrong with you. It doesn't exist. But knowing all that, I have put all of this idea of metabolic chaos inside a step-by-step system that trains you, provides tools, resources, systems, and helps you get the kind of clients that you really want too. Because kind of assuming that we're talking mostly to health coaches and nutritionists and personal trainers. And I just use a big fancy word, metabolic chaos, but it's really pretty simple. It's a state where hidden stressors and hidden stressors have caused malfunction, disease processes. But the root cause is unpredictable because the symptoms appear so far downstream. Now that is something that you all know pretty intuitively, I think. A clue to metabolic chaos is when intervention based on a traditionally reliable cluster of symptoms, combined even with abnormal test results, produces only marginal responses. Now, this is what's going on all over the country. There's a lot of people practicing functional medicine. There's a lot of health coaches actually doing a better job because we know better and we do our homework and we look into what's really wrong with the person. So contributors to metabolic chaos are at cause. Metabolic chaos is the effect until metabolic chaos itself becomes the single most significant condition. Now, I could give you some examples, but I'm just going to keep going on with the presentation here. We can come back to it if someone has any questions about that metabolic chaos. But so instead of guessing, what if there was a step-by-step assessment that identify underlying conditions and healing opportunities? That'd be one good thing. And then, of course, potent, proven, professional, drug-free protocols that actually restore, rebuild, repair health instead of just treating the symptoms or instead of just treating the paper. And a predictable path for you and your clients can follow to achieve and maintain the results everyone's looking for. And what I say is it's time to stop the cycle of trial and error. Now, if you were with us last month, because we're doing these monthly, and kind of going along with what the course has, the content of the course, there's 12 modules. So we figured each month we're going to release a little bit, I mean, just a few slides of the hundreds of slides that are in each module. So let me ask you guys, see if you can fill in the blank here. And you do know the topic for today. But if someone showed up like this poor gal, keep that picture in mind. Feeling stressed out, weight gain, can't maintain their weight, low energy, fatigue, brain fog, hate to exercise, eyes sensitive to light, a lot of anxiety, crashing in the day, need for coffee and things like that, immune system problems. You know, people who are stressed out have all of these different problems. Are the symptoms the problem? Well, no, we know they're not the problem, but is the root cause adrenal fatigue? And that is probably the most common, traditionally reliable cluster of symptoms that would lead a clinician to say, sounds like adrenal fatigue. They might even check the adrenals, but I'm going to show you in a few minutes that they might be wrong about their interpretation. And so let me give you something that is kind of a standard for what we used to call adrenal fatigue, and we now call progression of HPA, axis dysfunction, and cortisol dysregulation. So we're looking at the main stress hormone, and on the graph here, it's graphed out from left to right. And eustress is actually a good kind of stress. It's the kind that makes you want to get out of bed and go get some work done or have some fun or whatever it might be. And we're pretty well designed to adapt to that kind of stress. We shouldn't have much trouble. And Dr. Al, if my voice or if anything's coming across funny, you let me know. But
sure.
We're perfectly designed to adapt to certain types of stress. We can remain in homeostasis. Remember last month we went over the brain-body diagram. And if you don't remember last month, we can help. Now, so that's stress resolution, what we call normal. Now, along comes some distress, and the body adapts to that too. It goes into kind of a resistance phase for a little while, or it attempts to adapt. Now, in acute, it's really strong, and you get a really good strong reaction. So strong stress, strong reaction. And how do you think a person might feel at the top of that? Well, this is quite interesting, actually. Over the years, I've talked to a lot of people who were really stressed out, and they didn't really know it. They thought they were doing great holding down those 2 jobs and still coming home and playing with their 3 kids and still taking the wife to a movie or whatever it might be, or the spouse, making dinner for spouse, whatever it is. And so they thought they were doing okay until we tested them. So them, look, you're burning the candle at both ends. There's help for that. Now, the truth is, though, they don't really come to us a lot when they're that high. They start coming and asking for help when they don't feel like they used to. So their hormones are out of balance, and they're just not able to keep up the pace anymore. They kind of come home from their job and don't feel like playing with the kids and start flipping channels instead, maybe even taking some wine or something just to unwind in that. And that's because their life has a distress predominance, you might say. You can call it what you like. But how do you think they feel right there now? Again, it's sometimes worse than just I don't feel like myself. They're coming down with stuff, and they're reaching for stuff to feel better. Now this is very interesting. Here under long-term chronic distress, the body is still resisting, but it just can't do it as well as it used to. We call this a compensatory phase. This is not stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 adrenal fatigue. This is a compensatory phase that all the stress responses in the body are going through. Is why we call it the HPA axis dysfunction and cortisol dysregulation, because it is, you just can't consider it adrenals. More on that in just a minute. I'm actually going to go over some very interesting physiology with you. But, you know, another thing that, and this used to be called stage 3 adrenal fatigue, collapse, exhaustion, failed adaptation, exhaustion phase. This is still a valid paradigm or construct, if you will, to try to assess where a person's doing. You know, are they, is their body breaking down? But let's look at it another way. And this is where the anatomy, physiology, biochemistry comes in a little bit. So we have up in the brain the hypothalamus and pituitary, part of the title of today's presentation. We have the adrenals. Along comes stress, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, chemical, biochemical, could be spiritual, whatever it is. It stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, you know, through the eyes, through the limbic system, through the brain, and you get stimulus right to the adrenal medulla. That's in the middle of the adrenals. And then that, of course, produces some epinephrine, norepinephrine, which we used to call it adrenaline, which goes right into the bloodstream, is immediately considered by the hypothalamus as a stimulant to produce the corticotropin releasing hormone, which tells the pituitary, which is right next to it, they're attached to each other in the brain, to produce some adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH. Now that stimulates, this is very interesting, and something we've known for quite a while, but people who use the word adrenal fatigue all the time may not be as aware of this or remember this from their anatomy class. Now the adrenal cortex actually has 3 very distinct zones. And when you're getting pushed around like that, you have all this stressful stuff. One of those zones, the zona glomerulosa, it was responsible for mineralocorticoids and aldosterone. That has to do with your electrolyte levels. We won't focus much on that today. What we'll do instead is talk more about the zona fasciculata, which is where the cortisol is made. You know for certain this enhances adrenaline in the fight-flight mode. It lasts much longer. It raises your blood sugar. It's a catabolic hormone. It's considered the catabolic hormone that breaks your body down. I mean, it'll actually break down muscle just to produce blood sugar if it had to. And it does in some people if they're stressed out enough of certain types of stress. Now it aids in fat, protein, and carb metabolism, includes glucose utilization by the central nervous system. Because remember, you're under attack. You need this. This is very pro-survival. And so the counter-regulatory hormone to that, also produced in the adrenals, but in a different zone, is the DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone, which is the parent of your sex hormones. It's very anabolic. This is a hormone that would build you up. The cortisol is a hormone that would break you down, basically speaking. Now, the good news is that under stress, the body's going to react that way, and you're going to crank out some hormones, and you probably shut down some other hormones, and you're going to get out of trouble or get away from whatever it was, so to speak. And something kicks in called the HPA negative feedback loop. So pretty much an intact HPA negative feedback loop would say, hey, adrenals, slow down, you're okay, you don't need to crank out that cortisol anymore, and the other things that it might be doing. And so we would have what? We'd have cortisol to DHEA in balance. It's a very important ratio because it actually is a way of looking at, on paper, in numbers, and assessing the catabolic and anabolic balance in a person. So if you want to know if they're building up or breaking down, you can see it on paper. And I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to see that on their client. And it also tells us a lot about sex hormones versus stress hormones. But again, basically, this is your normal stress response and you have stress resolution. We're designed to do that. All agreed? So let's take what we face today. Let's get real. I mean, yeah, I live in Southern California. It's pretty idyllic, but there's stress. There's stress everywhere you go, and it's not just mental, emotional. It's all this physical stuff. From I've had quite a few injuries from sports and motorcycles and other things, being dropped on my head when I was a kid, I think. And then the biochemical onslaught. A lot of you know my history was environmental law before I got into the health space over 20 years ago. And I know what the environment's doing to people, and you do too. And then, of course, not having a purpose in life. All these things are very, very stressful. But the body doesn't really care what type of stress it is. It has a very common pattern in dealing with that, hormonally speaking. It's really interesting, this. You've got the same thing, sympathetic nervous system kicking off the adrenaline, let's say, and you got the stimulation to the adrenal cortex. And you're producing your cortisol, you're producing your DHEA. But now, because it's so chronic, it never goes away. And remember, I said we talk to people all the time who don't even know how stressed out they are. You get reduced sensitivity to cortisol and a dysfunctional negative feedback loop, and it just pretty much doesn't turn off, or not very much. You know, you have to actually meditate, or go into your safe space, whatever it is. Lots of things people are doing, but average people, clients coming to us, they don't know much about this. So in chronic stress overload, the adrenals, you might say they're kind of getting whipped. But I'm going to show you in a minute why we're just not going to call it that much anymore. And if that's the case, then you're going to be in that catabolic state. Another reason why it's good to run a lab and get some measurements and be able to assess your client a little bit better. In the chronic stress cascade, here's what goes on. I also call this the metabolic chaos cascade, because this idea of cortisol to DHEA and those imbalances are the kind of parent of a lot of dysfunction in the body, especially around energy production. These things you see here, especially around body chemistry and these things, and the immune activity. I mean, major life-supporting features and functions, right? Now, not only are those affected, but they start affecting each other. You've got this idea that there is metabolic chaos, and it does just cascade. So is this adrenal fatigue? Well, I'm going to show you where I don't think you can just call it that. It's really metabolic chaos. One more slide like this, if you'll bear with me. What we really have in real life, again, is all of these things. They're already influencing the hypothalamus and pituitary, your hormones, your immune system, things going on in digestion, things going on in detoxification system, neurotransmitters, the autonomic nervous system. That's your sympathetic and parasympathetic balance. Circadian rhythm, you're working late shift or staying up late in front of a computer screen with blue light, whatever. And the limbic system, of course, how you're perceiving the world that day, that hour, that minute. And so what we can readily see is that those same things going on down at the bottom of the screen before can be, the chain of events can start way, way higher than the adrenals, like at the hypothalamus. Your corticotropin releasing hormone could be off. You could have neurotransmitter problems, drugs, immune system, toxins, circadian rhythm, automatic nervous system, as I said. So it could be hypothalamic. And guess what, Dr. Al? What would the symptoms be like?
They would be the same.
Yeah, it'd be the same. Now, what if it was your pituitary, Dr. Al, and it was your ACTH? You're just not getting the good signals to the pituitary, you're not giving good signals from the pituitary. There's receptorship problems, more neurotransmitter problems. What would the symptoms be like there?
Same.
Same thing. Now, there is the adrenals, but which part? You got the medulla in the middle, which is producing your epinephrine or epinephrine type hormones. You got the zona glomerulosa, the zona reticularis, the zona fasciculata, each one under its own set of rules and regulations and sensitivities and receptorship and all the things that go on inside cells. And those could easily be blocked by toxicity of the immune system at varying levels. So you've got that. Now you've also, and Dr. Al, the symptoms would be?
The same.
He's muted. The same. Okay.
The same,
I won't
yeah.
bug you anymore. Everyone gets it. So now you also have, most cortisol is bound up. It's not free cortisol. And you can have problems with overbinding, underbinding. This happens in, well, at least the cortisol binding globulin, also known as transcortin, is produced in the liver, and it binds up, and it finds the cortisol and binds it. You can have a lot of issues around that, and the symptoms would be the same. You could also have, and just in some people, I can explain it, but the cortisol shunt to cortisone, depending on enzymes present or not supported, cofactors and things like that. And the symptoms would be the same. Yeah, exactly. So the idea is that someone with that, remember, go back to the picture of the gal with her head down on her laptop and all those symptoms she was having. The real problem is here in these 6 or 7 different areas, and it's in all the other areas of her body too. It's just a cascade. We call it metabolic chaos because that's what it is. These areas on the right. Now, I think, I might be going a little too fast here. I'm hoping you're hanging in there, and I certainly hope I'm not going too slow. The old paradigm is adrenal fatigue, but we know it could be hypothalamic, pituitary, liver and detox problems, cellular and organs and tissues, and blood sugar and inflammation. Could be the adrenal, one of the zones, or 2 or 3 of them, all of which produce the same adrenal symptoms. And the new paradigm is that, and this is why health coaches can run labs and be very safe in doing so. We provide 0 medical diagnosis, never. I've never given a diagnosis in 20 years, not a medical diagnosis. Now, I use the word diagnosis kind of like a car mechanic, trying to figure out what's wrong. And I have a guy come over here to fix my computer. He uses diagnostic tools, but not medical diagnosis. So health coaches, unless you have a license, you can't do that. But also, I want you to realize you wouldn't want to. Why would you just want to label one of these things and go, oh, I found your problem, here, let's treat it? Why not treat all of this simultaneously with one program? Now, that's the amazing part. The first thing you have to do is run a lab. Now, who wants to run a lab? If you haven't run labs, you're gonna just, yeah, I do. Okay, so this is for health coaches, and we're all health coaches. Doesn't matter if you came out of the nutrition field, the dietitian field, the nursing field. You could have come out of any other allied practitioner. We have massage therapists and people usually with a bachelor's degree or better, because this is pretty, post-grad level stuff. But you're a good person too, and you're committed to greater health and wellness for yourself and those you serve. You have a strong desire to help others and seeking guidance and wisdom, as we all do all the time. This is a picture of one of my practitioners who went from struggling to growing her business, struggling to try to grow her business and retain clients, to feeling amazing, doing her best work, helping clients to feel and perform at their best. Now, I do a post-grad interview with every person who goes through a course. And one of the most common statements I get is how much graduates enjoy being financially rewarded in a way that makes them feel good. You feel good to do something you love doing and get paid for it. So here's another one of our practitioners. I thought he was going to be on with us today. This is Brendan, and he's another one of those really, really good people who would never do anything that was unethical or illegal or anything. We're just here to help, and we get to use as much information as we possibly can. So a lot of you are kind of stuck. You're unable to see the deeper issues without access and training in functional lab work. You're committed to healing, but you need a system you can feel confident in. You don't want to be just another step in your client's cycle. We need to stop them, get them off the cyclotron. And I'm telling you right now, you can grow your business by being the last health professional your clients need to see, because you've actually solved their problems. Now, I'm not saying someone couldn't have medical problems. Like, that's what doctors are for. And we grant them unequivocally and gladly their monopoly on disease and diagnosing and treating disease. That's their monopoly, and they can have it. We, again, look for healing opportunities and give people stuff to do to fix it. And it's really quite remarkable. So there's only 3 steps: assess the underlying conditions and contributors to metabolic chaos. We use comprehensive onboarding, including careful history taking and lab investigation. We don't look for medical diagnosis. We look for healing opportunities, and they are different. Customize the Dress for Health Success program. We'll go over that, and then run the program. Someone's got to run the program. So sometimes it seems easier if you just did 1 and 2. Hey, here's what's wrong with you, and here's what you need to do to fix it. But in the health coaching world, you got to give someone a program and help them along a little bit. That's the beauty of it, and that's why it's so valuable. We figure out what needs fixing, and then we help fix it. So step 1, and if you were around last month, I kind of went through an overview of all of these areas, all the labs that I would run. Here's how we work. We run functional lab assessments, identify these malfunctions, as I said, within the hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous systems. Today, we're only going to have time to look at the hormones. This is a big area when it comes to hidden internal stressors and dysfunctions, which highly correlate with most common health complaints. So these are some of the hormones we test. These are some other labs we run. But I just want you to look at that picture and look at all the stuff going on in the adrenal glands. And is part of it maybe fatigued? Maybe, but which part? The bottom line is you don't want to label it. You don't need to call it anything. It's just dysfunction. It's just metabolic chaos. Let me though show you where traditionally we would have lined up certain people. Here's just 4 cortisols, and you can see the DHEA reading is also there, because we're always going to check cortisol and DHEA because we want to assess catabolic and anabolic, and it's really easy to do. There's no medical diagnosis in that. It's just looking for, kind of how catabolic they are, if they are, and what resiliency they may have, and things like that. So this is a 43-year-old male. Main complaint was energy issues, trouble sleeping, weight gain, work-related stress, and that kind of a thing. Sounds like a common client to me. And we're only going to have time today to just look at the cortisol sum, which is here 40, which is above the limit. And oh, what's funny is, where's the, oh, here it is. So I'll take that slide out. There it is. This is what I want to show you. There's your 40. Here's someone that's showing up here who's still got real high cortisol. Now, do we know where they peaked out? No way of knowing that. Typically, if they're coming in your office, they used to feel better. People don't usually come in and say, I feel my best, fix me. They just don't say it. So we don't know. And you can take a history, though, and sort of figure that thing out. The duration also is unknown. How long have you been like this? Well, I had one lady studying this years ago, and I was showing her that she probably used to be in the yellow, and she was way down here in the orange here somewhere. And she says, yeah, I think I was in the yellow for 22 years because I was a school teacher and I was stressed out every single day. Some people have a lot of vital reserve and resiliency, and they might be able to take a beating for a while. Other people, they might recall some particular thing that happened a year ago or 2 years ago. Oh, yeah, I was like that, and it left me in complete, shambles. I'm a wreck now because of that one thing. So we don't really dwell too much on that, but it's just interesting how it works and to know. So the client holds the key, and they'll tell us, and where do you think this person is headed? Well, they might be headed to somewhere like this. What's happening is there's different graphics on the same slide, and it's going through them all. So here's another one with a cortisol sum of 20, and I'm just going to show you where that landed. So this is what I would call compensatory, but kind of late. compensatory. Now, this person is definitely symptomatic, taking things to feel better, has usually seen numerous practitioners. Her steroid hormones are out of balance. There's another page of this results I'm not going to have time to go over today. Another page on the same test that we run, the saliva test. And cortisol dysregulation factors are likely in play. Well, we know they are. And this is something, by the way, that most blood tests miss. Urine assessments are getting better and can pick some of this up on the dried urine, not the 24-hour urine, because they're just an average of the entire day. And so we're able to look at and kind of plot someone on this a little bit better using the saliva. So this is a person with multiple dysfunctions and complaints. And now we're going to look at another one here where the cortisol sum's only 9. You can see on the graph, everything's below the reference range or at the very bottom of the reference range. This was another male, 54 this time, main complaint, fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, no libido, losing muscle mass. At 54, that's pretty sad. And I wouldn't want to be that way. And I would want to help this guy and fix him. Exhaustion phase, for sure, cortisol may remain low indefinitely due to added cortisol dysregulation factors. We talk about those a little bit more. Those are the other hidden stressors. So this person plots out way down here. So it's the low cortisol. A lot of people show up like this with blood sugar issues, immune system issues, cravings, and don't eat very well. They're involved in things that go along with eating the standard American diet. But there's chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia. Oh, that's a seasonal affective disorder. Yeah. And then low blood pressure, partial hypertension, dizziness, allergies, chemical sensitivity, stressed out feelings, depression, cold body temperature. Now, again, those aren't things that I would medically diagnose. That's why I call it all just metabolic chaos. And, you know, what somebody's phone is pinging. Seek hidden stressors and think cortisol dysregulation factors. That's what I would do. This is a person who needs FDN and the Dress for Health Success program.
Hey, Reed, just
So,
real quick here.
I didn't give you, yeah.
You're doing, this is great information. Like, people are typing in, they're loving all this information that you're giving. I have somebody on the line here that just typed in and said that they want to sign up for the course and they have to leave. So they're just wondering if we have information for how they can do that. They want to enroll, they need to know how.
Well, it's coming up. I guess I could go to the last slide real quick if you want, but I don't want to. But you just go here. Just go.
Well, yeah. So we'll be sending out information, but you guys we do have a special offer for you guys today. So if you guys hang on the line with us, we're going to give you some of that information for anybody that does have to drop off early. So Steph, you just said you have to drop off early, you want to enroll. I'm going to reach out to you when we get done so we can keep going on with the presentation, but we'll definitely get you that information. You
take down this website here. Yeah, go to fdntraining.com. All right, let me go back to my presentation.
Yep, sorry to interrupt you guys.
So I'm glad you said that. That's okay. No, I like going over the labs and showing people things. I wish we had time today to go over each, what do the individuals mean? The morning, the noon, the afternoon, the nighttime. Everything is interpretable in terms of how that person is functioning. And then you can clinically correlate that with a person. That means that they show up feeling pretty much like what their test results are showing. And a lot of times you're going to be the first person that ever showed them what's really wrong when you can run the right labs and give them a functional interpretation. Again, just here's what we see that looks out of balance. And now let's talk to you about why is it out of balance. And of course, that can involve more investigation. So this is not practicing medicine. This is being a health detective, as we went over last month. And so you get someone assessed and where they're at, and then you got to give them stuff to do. Now, before we talk about that, I just want to get back into full screen mode here. And let me show you how the system works, and how we eliminate metabolic chaos and help you build your coaching practice. the chronic stress cascade, or what I call the metabolic chaos cascade sometimes, you've just seen this on paper in the lab results. Hidden stress and imbalances, if not soon resolved, cascade into other areas. Metabolic chaos ensues, causing serious dysfunction, leading to disease and symptoms. Now, the problem is the metabolic chaos. It's been going on for years. They have multiple complaints, and there's multiple causes, and they're way the heck upstream. And some of them are undetectable. You'll never know what they are. There's no one test. And so they're, depending on one's individual weak links in metabolism, serious dysfunction may occur. And then even more metabolic individuality, certain diseases and symptoms will show up. And that's how they show up in your office, as the disease and symptoms. We just don't instinctively look for the metabolic chaos unless you're trained the way I'm talking about getting trained, which I guess someone had to leave and wanted to skip forward. I'll be going over those a little more courteously in a few minutes. But now, so let me just say that I love the stream analogy. Distress of any kind leads to loss of homeostasis, dysfunction, disease, as we just said, and what I'm just calling metabolic chaos. I don't want to just label one thing and go treat that. It would be silly for me to try to do that. That's what doctors do, and again, they have a monopoly on identifying disease and treating it. We just want to say, where are the healing opportunities? Because that weakened state of health, left unchecked, leads to not only symptoms, but sometimes serious, like real diseases, where they really will need a doctor. And treating symptoms only, as you know, leads to worsening of that underlying disease state. Our job is to look upstream. We use the functional labs to identify opportunities to restore function and balance. And of course, we're going to use lifestyle, so there's no prescription writing or any of that stuff. So that's what we do. We get the client to adopt behaviors and therapies that coach up their vital reserve. It's known as strategic reserve sometimes, or Thomas Williams calls it metabolic reserve. I like that one. So you coach up that metabolic reserve while you coach down any and all contributors to metabolic chaos, leading to return of health and vitality. Symptoms disappear pretty much on their own. So here's the step-by-step. So we went over step one, which was to assess. We run our labs on all those areas, the HIDDEN areas. I just showed you a little bit about the hormones today. And step two is what? We're going to apply wellness principles and address all healing opportunities at once. Now, you've heard some of this before. I'm going to tell you, when you've got a lab-guided diet program, rest program, exercise program, stress reduction program, and supplement program, you are cooking with gas. This is a process so effective, we're granted a trademark by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office like 10 years ago, exclusive to people who are trained to use it. But it's not just your everyday diet and exercise program. I guarantee you that, especially around stress reduction, because we're the masters of finding the hidden stressors. And supplements, I don't have my own brand. I'm not into that at this point. But I know a lot about them, and I teach a lot of that too. So I want to summarize here a little bit, folks, and stay with me here. You've got vital reserve versus metabolic chaos. How long can you hang in there with all that chaos if you're not assessing it, breaking it down, figuring out where it's coming from, and then coaching up all the functions in the body that you can, and especially if you've got that data. So diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction supplements is what coaches up every cell, every tissue, every organ, the entire organism all at once. Not treating anything specifically, you're treating everything non-specifically. Now, you also obviously have to coach down the metabolic chaos, the contributors to metabolic chaos, known stressors, hidden stressors, and that's how we make people better. So go back to that picture of the gal with her head on the laptop. Is that adrenal fatigue? What, why label it? No, it's not. It's that adrenal HPA axis dysfunction, first of all, is much bigger than adrenal fatigue, and that might be just the half of it, or 1/5 of her problem. And so we don't chase symptoms, we don't chase labs, we don't treat the paper. The idea of root cause, is cool. I used to have it on my website, but you might actually not know what it is, but that doesn't matter. You can have an effect upon it. In other words, if you never figure out the root cause, you can still have an effect on it. And that's how we fill the needs gap. We sort out metabolic chaos and you get transformation. So that is how we work. And for those of you that are interested, you can stay around and I will make you an offer to become a part of our community. And so what we have here is a plan for you. Now, this guy is out trying to get some customers. And I've been public speaking for 20 years. I love small groups. I love to go out to talk to a few people. And that's what we get all of our practitioners go out and do. And you can join us. Join the world's leading health coach training program. Learn the investigative skills, the mindset that unravels metabolic chaos. Identify the healing opportunities. What's really wrong with the person? Then apply the wellness principles involved in the dress system that are unique to you or your client. And then, of course, yes, you have to coach them. You have to walk them along a proven path, one that's very predictable. You just want to use the word predictable. And of course, the business model, we teach you how to package and price your services so that you make a great living doing what you love. Again, one of the most common things I get is, a lot of us are altruistic. We don't sort of like charging people. We don't want to charge them big fat fees for what we do and stuff like that. But this is a way you can do it and feel really good about it because of how much good you're doing. You grow your business by getting real results in your client's health and well-being. You can be proud of that. This was a little gathering we had last year for some of our folks came in town. We have another conference coming up this year you'll love. But what I want you to do is just think for a second, what are you going to do with your next client? And I want you to not lose them because you know how to heal them, or help them heal would be a better way to put it. It's very science-based, as you can see. It's running the right labs. It's individualized protocols in the dress system. Resolve that metabolic chaos. Be the last person they need to see, and you will feel amazing doing your best work, helping clients to feel it and perform at their best. So as Jen was saying and had me skip forward here, the next steps are, be on our list, stay with us, hang in there. And when you're ready to make the commitment, then you jump into the course. So if you're ready now, jump in now. But we're going to do monthly webinars probably from now on. We got 12 lined up, one a month for the rest of this year. Going through some of the modules, pulling out a few slides, teaching you some of the principles. You're missing a lot, but you're getting the gist of it. And we have a gift for you, the progression of HPA dysfunction chart, if you contact us. And if you're ready to become an FDN health detective, enroll here, fdntraining.com. Just go there now and sign up. Or if you need to speak to a counselor, you might have some particular concerns or questions and things like that, and that's fine. We love talking to people. Sometimes we all talk to you. And you would go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com/counselor. There's a phone number there too.
Yep, our counselors are actually live, ready to answer questions for people.
Okay. And
Great.
yeah, they're live. So if you do want to join, matter of fact, I'll extend this out till Sunday night. This next Sunday night that's coming up. Save $500 when you join. Go to training.com. Use this, enter this code HPA 500. It'll tell us that you came from this particular webinar. And you'll take $500 off and pay only $54.95. Payment plans are available. You can always call. This expires next Sunday. But let me tell you where I got that price from. I've looked around. There's other courses out there, and they teach some really good stuff and things that would be useful to a health coach. They would prepare you for a job, maybe maybe working in a doctor's office or other very useful things. And so based on that and the amount of work I put into this course over the last 10 years, I know it's an $8,000 course easily, and some people tell me more, but I charge $59.95. And I include running 2 labs on you. Matter of fact, we made it 3 as of about 2 weeks ago. So we're going to run 3 labs on you, pay for the labs, and give you all the mentoring you need to go over your own labs. That's another huge value. And if you were an FDN practitioner, you would probably be charging $2,800 to do that for somebody. I'm giving it to you as part of the course. And then, of course, the health coach business module, I think it's priceless, because the current course now is set up into three basic sections. There's all the modules where I teach you all the lab work, physiology, anatomy, biochemistry, interpretations, case studies, and that kind of a thing. Then there's all the dress protocols, teach you what I've learned over the 20 years about diet and rest and exercise and stress reduction and supplementation. And that's a lot. And so that is included for only $59.95. You're going to save a lot of money right there. And you get, of course, our community support. I give you documentation. There's hundreds of documents, or at least 183, and other things that you'll like in there. So you can save some more money if you actually join or be one of the first 10. So remember what I said, it's fdntraining.com. Use this code. That'll get you that'll save you $500 right there. And then if you're one of the first 10 between now and Sunday, we'll give you another $500 value. It's our advanced hormone testing. And it's advanced. It goes through other ways besides saliva to check the hormones. I mean, the saliva modules are amazing, but that's an advanced thing, another $500 value. You'll get that upon graduation from the course. So you can save over $400. So I'm going to put it back. Yeah, I'll leave it there so that you can write all that down. And hopefully we have some questions.
We do have some questions. So Kim is saying, can you give me the number? So our number, can you just go back to the slide? I can type it in here too, Reed, so Kim can give us a call.
Yeah, it's right there.
If she would like. So 858-842-3266. So the phone number to talk to our counselors is, again, 858. It is 842 and then 3266. If you also go to our website, there's a chat box that'll pop right up too, and you can chat with our course counselors right there as well. So that's one of the questions that we had from Kim. Kim saying that she wants to enroll. She wants to be one of the first 10. So doing it, Kim. You can actually just go straight to fdntraining.com and enroll yourself too there. You can put in the code HPA 500, and then you can pick your payment plan from there as well. Let's go over some other questions that we have on here too. Lisa saying is how to determine such chaos. So I think we kind of went over that in the webinar, but Reed, do you want to recap how do we determine metabolic chaos?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Great question. Well, that's, again, a phrase that I coined for what's really going on, because it's infinitely complex. A number of metabolic processes. It's a universe big, and there's no one test that's going to tell you everything that's wrong with a person. I think we're 100 years from a blood test that, matter of fact, blood probably wouldn't even tell you everything if there was such technology. But anyways, we're not near there. So what we do is we look for healing opportunities in those 6 major areas that I talked about. And that's the kind of magic where the magic happens. Now, that didn't happen by accident. So we look for the HIDDEN, the hidden dysfunctions, the hidden stressors and dysfunctions. So we would run labs on the hormones, the immune system, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous system, HIDDEN. We get a lot of numbers, and we correlate with the person. So you're going to go back to the person and see if they match up. Like if they have really low cortisol in the afternoon. They might be really fatigued in the afternoon, kind of thing. And lots of other ways of getting what we call clinical correlation. I think it's the most critical step in being able to properly interpret a lab test. And so we don't want to just label. I wish I had a slide from last month's presentation. We don't want to just label one thing we find on one test. Let me give you an example. Someone who's got thyroid symptoms, they're tired, they're fatigued, they're a little bit overweight, they feel sad, they got maybe their extremities are kind of chilly, cold all the time, they're constipated, their hair's thinning. So that's, if you said that to a experienced clinician, they might say, sounds like thyroid. And then they would actually run a thyroid test and go, yep, pat myself in the back, I found your problem, it's hypothyroid. And they'd give you some thyroid, something to stimulate thyroid production, or some, or actual thyroid hormone, either way. So they're going to just basically treat what they found and hope you feel better. And you might feel better. But what I'm saying in the concept of metabolic chaos is that you're not just hypothyroid for no reason. There's something wrong. There's something going on. There's hidden stressors and dysfunctions elsewhere in the body and affecting every cell, tissue, organ, and system. There's the environment, there's mental, emotional, there's existential angst, there's physical trauma, there's all the stuff that we're under constant assault from every single day. And so, that creates chaos. Now, remember the chaos cascade? So downstream is when, here's an organ, a weak link in metabolism, if you will. Some organ is just genetically, that's your target. That's the target that the chaos and stress took, and so you go down in thyroid. The other explanation might be that it's actually a natural adaptation to the stress you're under. Thyroid controls metabolism. So if your metabolism slows down, it's probably on purpose. It's probably because your body's trying to conserve some resources, the amount of stress. Now, you don't think so because you have good food at your disposal. Your fridge is full of it, your cupboards, the farmer's market down the street. You don't think that you need to conserve resources at all, but your body does. So it starts slowing down metabolism. So the hypothyroidism you're getting those symptoms from is actually what your body's supposed to be doing under a lot of stress. So if you only single out that one thing, treat that one thing, then you're going to be caught in a cycle of, hypothyroid. Yeah, I'm hypothyroid, and I'm taking my whatever. And then, but you know what? My libido's really low and I can't seem to gain any muscle. I've still got some fatigue, so the clinical diagnosis might be, it sounds like other hormones, testosterone maybe. Let's run that test. Oh yeah, here, look at this. Found your problem. You got low testosterone. So here comes another prescription or another natural supplement, whatever it is the person's doing, their modality or whatever it might be. And so now you're looking at people who are just treating the paper. Whereas what I just showed you was a way to assess, at least in those 6 areas, which covers a lot of ground, a lot of metabolic chaos, a lot of dysfunction in the body, and you can fix it all at once, which is what health coaches have to do. We only have at our disposal behavior. We can't write prescriptions, nor would we want to. So we have the diet, the rest, the exercise, the stress reduction, the supplementation. You can target those things, you can customize those things, and you can watch improvement in those functions happen before your eyes, and in functions that we didn't measure. There's a lot of areas to be improved. You can't measure them all, and so that's just simply how it works.
Perfect, Reed. Thanks. So Kim's asking here too, being hypothyroid and low in hormones can also stress the adrenals. They're all connected. That's the bad thing. That's great, Kim. You're already grasping the concepts and you're ready to become an FDN. That's perfect. It's like I
Yeah.
always like to say, Reed, I say in these webinars, sometimes it's that age-old question of what came first, the chicken or the egg. We never really know what came first. And so that's why as FDNs, we kind of address all the issues at once because, the root cause may never be known, as you say, but we can still have a positive effect on it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Great. Anybody got any other questions for us? Dr. Al, anything you want to throw in here?
Doctor, I had to go.
Oh, he did? Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
All right, you guys. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. Looks like everybody had a great time, like Reed said. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So I think that we're on the same page, Jen. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be doing this again next month, but by next month, you could have a lot of the FDN course under your belt. So jump in there, and we're all going to be here to help and serve.
Sounds good. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.